Hello and welcome everyone again into another video. In today's video, I will be talking about the best teams in the Open Ultra League. Open Ultra League is the league that we're having next after the Great League and the Psychic Cup together. And Ultra League is one of the leagues that has been around since forever, and the meta doesn't change that much. Like whenever we see like big changes in Great League, Ultra League just slightly changed. Ultra League is known for like the league that's dominated by legendaries and OP Pokemons. It's at 2500 CP. XLs are allowed, and there will be legendaries everywhere. But and then in this season, we've seen that there is a Pokemon that is not legendary, is actually now dominating left and right. Well, it's not dominating; it's just too safe as a swap. It's just like Lickitung in the Great League. The name of this Pokemon is Gliscopod, and in the Ultra League meta, I divided just like every other league: good leads, good save swaps, generalists. The thing about this league, there is pretty much a wide variety of Pokemons you could use. It's not just like there is 5 Pokemons you'll be using. No, there's lots of Pokemons you will be using. You will see as well. Due to the fact that in Ultra League, even if you get hard countered, it's not a bad matchup. Yes, it's a game that you might lose, but that doesn't mean you will lose. In some cases, as an example, Coffin into Drapion, you'll easy live one crunch and you'll still be able to chip it. It's not like a horrible matchup, just like in the Great League, where in Great League, whenever you get hard countered, it's tough to come back from. Some Pokemons will be able to, but in Ultra League, like as an example, Registeel comfortably live an EQ from Swampert. It does like 55% or 53%, and if there is a Zap debuff, Registeel can live to Earthquakes from Swampert. Unless the Swampert is Shadow, which is a different case. So, good leads. In this cup, Pidgeot and Talonflame used to dominate the leads, but we don't see them as much. In fact, we see something that is more being used, stuff like Alolan Sandslash and Ampharos and Obstagoon still exists due to the fact that people are running A-Slash, and Obstagoon is just a hard wall to A-Slash. Trevenant is low-key dead. Scrafty isn't being used as much for one reason, because Scrafty rely on only fast move damage, and the charge move damage kinda sucks. While like there's now some solid Pokemons that have decent fast move pressure and decent charge move pressure, such as Cobalion. Good fast move and good charge moves. Another Pokemon I want to mention in the lead, which doesn't exist, but you've seen it in my videos, the Pokemon is Shadow Dragonite, and I will be making lots of content about this Pokemon. Now moving to the good save swaps. Save swaps are Pokemon usually like generally are very bulky, and they have decent fast move pressure, decent charge move pressure, where like they are just too spammy, and they can have, and they also have nukes. Plus they have the potential to flip some losing matchups with some energy. Stuff like, as an example, Jelly into Coffin, you have the chance to flip the matchup if you land a bait. Coffin into Shadow Skunk, you can flip the matchup if you have, I think, 2 hexes lead or something. So matchups aren't as bad as in Great League. In fact, it's more flexible. That's why I like this league, and I always try to make as many teams as possible whenever it's around. So if you're looking for a team, I think this is the right video for you. Pokemon that worth mentioning is Regirock. It's just a very spammy Pokemon and can break most of the codes that are built around Registeel. It has a decent play against the Steelix, but the problem is that Steelix keep getting buffs and buffs every season, to the point where now Steelix is actually just very toxic and too strong and too powerful of a Pokemon, and too stupid to use, just like breaking swipe, debuff after debuff, until like you start doing no damage, because this Pokemon is just stupid. Another Pokemon that's worth mentioning here, I think it's one of the best budget Pokemons, the Shadow Walrein. Shadow Walrein got nerfed and then they got buffed slightly. Ever since the nerf, it's not as being used as common as before, but it's still there. Like, I've seen lots of people still using it due to the fact that you have EQ for the steals, and you have ice moves for the ground and the dragons, and there's lots of those. Zygarde is still in the top. Virizion was one of the most common ones in the last rotation. And if we take a look at the PvPoke ranking, Registeel, Steelix, Cobalion, 3 steals are the top 3. Cresselia, Regirock. Cresselia just because it beats everything that's not a steal. Regirock because it's a good core breaker. Zygarde because it's just too dominant of a Pokemon. Shadow Registeel, Giratina, Giratina has been in the top 5 in the Ultra League since forever. I've never seen Giratina below top 5. Swampert, Berisian. Berisian was very common in the last rotation because people were running Steelix and Greedent and Double Water. I was running Double Water, and the only Pokemon that can do well against all of these is Berisian. So that's the main reason why people were running Berisian. It's too decent of a core breaker. The Pokemon that worth mentioning here is Golisopod, the best safe swap in this cup. It's too decent of a Pokemon, and it has play against everything. I think now people start running stuff like Pidgeot again because Golisopod is just everywhere and everyone's just safe swapping Golisopod. Shadow Charizard worth mentioning. It's so powerful of a Pokemon if you can dodge the waters, and for the Charizard you need the Shadow. Non-Shadow is still decent, but the Shadow is just too strong. Registeel is the best Pokemon. I don't think I need to talk about this Pokemon. Is just the best. It's just too powerful of a Pokemon. Registeel is the only Pokemon in the game that can beat its own counters in the Zero Shield. So there is always an advantage you can grab, whether it's a shield advantage or the health advantage or alignment advantage. So yeah, that's pretty much like some of the common Pokemons. A Pokemon that I will be mentioning later, which Gliscor, Tapu Fini, is probably the best anti-Golisopod Pokemon. They both hard counter each other's, so usually the one with energy lead wins. And yeah, some Pokemons that worth mentioning here is Drifloon, where I don't see Drifloon. Drifloon now has a Mystical Fire, which is a fire charge move that's an Icy Wind clone. Skunk has a play, but it's not as it used to be just because of Steelix. Dubwool has a play. Como, I stopped making content around this Pokemon. I think I'll be making content again around Como. Deoxys Defense, I've seen like some people like Homeslice Henry making a bunch of videos about Deoxys Defense, and he's the only one who's been running it. In fact, like, it's just like too bulky and doesn't do that much damage, and people stopped using it as much. I guess people just forgot about it, except Henry. Greedent got mod shot this season, and now it's spammier than it ever was. If you think it used to be spammy, now it's even spammier. Obama Snow has a play. I guess Jealous of him is gonna make some Obama Snow teams. I think he's the only one who still uses Obama Snow. Amok is just a budget version of Shadow Skunk. Shadow Skunk is better against the Steel because you have Flamethrower, while Muk just get walled by the Steels. So we talked about the Pokemons. You know what? Let's just talk about the top teams. And if you go to PvPoke, choose Team Builder tool, and since Registeel is the best Pokemon, choose Registeel. It's PvPoke will recommend Cresselia, and then you try to find the third, and the first option that will pop up is Steelix. This team is supposed to be the best team on paper, as I always say. The first team is not supposed to be, doesn't necessarily mean it's the best Pokemon. It's the best Pokemon on paper if people are running the top 500 Pokemons, but people don't do that. In fact, in the last season, like not this season, not this rotation, the last season, the best performing team was literally Golisopod, A/ with Double Water. Why Double Water? In case there is like a count, because those Double Water happen to be like anti-fighters, and they are the same that cover against fire because they are water that resist fighting moves. And Golisopod joined them this season, so you could run A/ Golisopod with Tapu Fini. I think you can replace Jellicent. So you think it's like people is like always asking me, if I don't have Jellicent, what should I run? I'm like, Golisopod is like, oh, we don't have Golisopod. I mean, do you want a good substitute or you just want a random substitute? Because I can give you like a random substitute that won't do necessarily as good. But with Golisopod, it's literally as good. In fact, it's even better because it has a fast move pressure, while Jellicent does not have fast move pressure. Golisopod beat Virizion. Jellicent does not beat Virizion. So these are the teams that were very dominant, supposed to be, but that's not the teams I run. In fact, if you watch my videos in the Ultra League, I made 2 videos about a Dragonite team, and I went 22-3 in the Ultra League last rotation, and it was a Dragonite Double Water. What's the point of this? I mean, Dragonite lose to Ice and Fairy, okay, and Steel, and Tapu Fini and Golisopod do fine against the Steel if the Steel is Cobalion or Steelix. If the Steel is Registeel, Dragonite does fine against Registeel as long as you land the superpower eventually. But yeah, there is 2 videos on the channel. You can look up. That is the title of both of them with the thumbnail, because people's like, actually, when you put the name of the video, we can't tell which video is that. So yeah, basically, these are the 2 videos about Dragonite. And if you guys are on the channel, you know how much I love this Pokemon and how much content I make around it. So if you are a Dragonite Chad, I will be making even more content about Dragonite. There was another team I played last rotation, and it was because there was one Pokemon that can literally win all leads. This Pokemon does not lose any lead, and the Pokemon is Gliscor. I call it Gliscor Chad. And the team is basically Gliscor, Reggie with Golisopod. If you don't have Golisopod, you could run Tapu Fini. If you don't have Tapu Fini, you could do Jellicent. There is no other good substitute, okay? You could do Greedent, but that's an ABB team, which is a different playstyle. The name of the video is People Forget How Dominant This Pokemon Is in the Ultra League. And the Pokemon here, I mean Gliscor. It's a Pokemon that can literally win all leads except Ice. But Ice, you never see Ice in the lead. What if there is an A-Slash? If there is an A-Slash, you go Registeel, you win the 0 and the 1. If they want to play the 2, well, you can leave with a shield advantage, and then, trust me, Golisopod will love that advantage. Or a Gliscor. Another team I wanted to run, but I didn't run because I did not power up a Steelix, because this was just everywhere. So there is no uniqueness in running that Pokemon. And if you're around this channel, you know how much I love making new solid teams every once in a while. So the best Pokemon to pair with a Steelix is Virizion, and the best third is either of those. You could run a Ghost like Giratina, you could run a Jellicent, you could run Golisopod, you could run also Greedent and make it an ABB team. Another solid team, I call it, it's not my team, it's That Boy Jay's team. He doesn't like when I post his teams or tell anyone about his teams, so please don't tell anyone about That Boy Jay's team, because nobody knows about this team. The team is basically Giratina, Registeel, Virizion. I'm not going to tell you about the moveset. Okay, that's enough leak from That Boy J. Okay. Basically, the thing about Giratina is just too bulky and too good as well. If they have an Ice lead, you just swap to Registeel. Same as before. That's the only thing you need to swap technically. If they have a Tapu Fini, yeah, you could swap to Registeel or Virizion. Up to you. Nobody leads Jellicent technically. Dragonite lead, you outpace. Eventually, if you can catch, that's even better. A team that I tried but I did not make a video about is Virizion, Greedent, and Tapu Fini. The problem with this team is that if you get a Charizard or a Flyer lead, it's just tough to come back from. But I was relying that people don't run Flyers because Pidgeot is low-key dead, which I'm happy about. And okay, if you're here for the budget teams, this is the best budget team in the Ultra League. Shadow, Charizard, Shadow, Walrein, and Swampert. Swampert, whether you want a Shadow or no, it's up to you, but it's preferred to be triple Shadow. And this team was too strong and too powerful. Even at high MMR, you would see this team competing with the top teams that I mentioned before. So these are like some common teams. Let's talk about some teams from previous season. If you watch my channel, you know that how much I used to run Skunk. But now I just replaced the Skunk with the Golisopod. So yeah, if you want to watch the video, if you want to learn how to play this video, I hit legend with this team in the band last season. So you can go and check that video. If you don't have a Skunk or a Jellicent, okay, so let me just make it this way. Dragonite, with either of those 3, you choose 2, you can make a solid team. A team I tried for like couple days, and I actually was using to coach people, because I do coaching. If you're interested in getting coached, the link will be in the description below, or feel free to reach out through Discord DMs. I was using this team as a to coach my students, because technically Virizion is a Pokemon that does well against technically everything except Swampert. What about G-Fisk? G-Fisk doesn't exist, okay? And the thing about Virizion, not Virizion, Ampharos. Ampharos is Shadow, by the way. You need the Shadow because the Shadow flipped the Giratina matchup and the 0 if they have Shadow Claw. A team that's worth mentioning, it's an anti-Steelix, basically 3 Pokemons that beats the Steelix. Well, with Jellicent, it's a scuffed matchup, but you have Surf, and Surf is super effective. One of the teams I wanted to talk about is the A-Mine Joke. He's a Twitch streamer, and he's a regional champ, and I think he was the 3rd in the latest EU regional, the 2nd, I'm not sure. He's he's an A/ Chad. He just loved this Pokemon and he runs this Pokemon too much. So he was running a team that is A/ Giratina and Charizard the 2 seasons before. Last season, he swapped it to Tapu Fini. This season, he swapped it to Golisopod. So basically, this core double Shadow Claw users, they cover it as well. Some other teams that's worth mentioning, you could do Dragonite with Ampharos and Tentacruel. You use Tentacruel to bait out the Swampert. Technically, it's a different play style because this is low-key ABB weak to Swampert, right? Check Home Slice Henry's YouTube. I could not find the video, but if you like DD, this is the best DD team, probably the only viable DD team as well. Como was very powerful when this thing first came out, and then Niantic decided to give Dragonite superpower, and Dragonite is like way superior is a way superior version of Como because the flying subtyping give Dragonite lots of resistances, which help it to destroy some matchups like the Swampert, where Swampert can beat Como if you land the EQ and you shield a close combat. That's it for today. I tried to keep it as short as possible. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for watching. It's the end of the video. If you like it, feel free to leave a like, maybe channel, subscribe, and see you in the next one. Peace.